Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Your participation in this important process will shape the future of Bellevue, and we appreciate your time and input. My name is Claire Suma Diraria. I've been a Bellevue resident for 30 years, a mother and a local small business owner. Thank you for including me to be part of this. Today, we're here to interview Bellevue's acting city manager, Diane Carlson. This process began back in November 2023 when Bellevue's former city manager, Brad Miyake, decided to retire after many years of dedicated service. Following that, the City Council appointed Diane Carlson, the Deputy City Manager, to serve as acting city manager. For those who may not be familiar, Bellevue operates under council-manager form of government. This means that while the city manager sets the policies and vision for the city manager is responsible for the day-to-day operations and management. One of the most important tasks for the city council is selecting the city manager. The last time the city council went through this process was about 10 years ago, when they appointed Brad Miyake as city manager. This year, as part of their approach to selecting a new city manager, the council engaged with the community to gather inputs on the qualities, skills, and experience that the community member felt were crucial for this role. This input helped create the candidate profile for the city manager position. After reviewing the profile against Diane Carlson's skills and experience as acting city manager, the council determined that she matched the criteria. They decided to first interview her through a public assessment process, which brings us here today. During the month of August, community members had the opportunity to submit interview questions. Many of those questions were selected and will be asked today. All interview sessions are being live streamed, recorded, so the community member who could not attend can still watch and provide feedback. And that is where you come in today. We encourage you to use this feedback cards provided as you enter, or the link posted on the video description for those who are watching online, to share your thoughts on how the interview went. Your feedback will be an important part of the council's final assessment of Diane Carlson and help them to decide whether to move forward with her appointment or continue searching for other candidates. We are grateful to have such an engaged and active community here in Bellevue. Your input is vital, and we thank you for taking the time to be part of this process. If you're interested to learn more about the process, you can visit the City of Bellevue website at bellevue.gov and search for City Manager Hiring to access the latest updates. Now let's talk about how today's session would work. I have a list of questions that were submitted by the community. These questions have been carefully selected by the City HR department to ensure a broad and diverse range of topics. This will give you a better understanding of Diane Carlson's background, skills, and how she might handle key situations as city manager. I will ask the questions to acting city manager Carlson, and following the interview, we will have time to meet and mingle at a short reception in the concourse, where light snacks and beverages will be available. Please note that while we wouldn't be taking live questions during the interview portion, you are welcome to chat with Diane at the reception. And as always, you can provide additional feedback or suggestions by emailing the council or using the feedback forms available here or online. Please be sure to fill out your feedback cards and drop them in the box on your way out, or you can use digital survey to share your thoughts on how the interview went. After all the interview sessions are completed, the council will use your feedback to help determine the next steps in the hiring process. With that, let's kick off the interview. First, I would like to thank you, Acting City Manager Carlson, to being here and share her thoughts and experience with the community in these public sessions. The first thing I think people would like to know is a bit about your background, who you are, in addition to why you're interested in serving as Bellevue's next city manager.
Thank you, Claire. I very much appreciate you giving your time and for the community giving your time to be here today and to listen to the session as well. And looking forward to your feedback and as part of this. So I thought today I would spend a little bit more time talking about my work background. In the other interviews, I've covered why this position is important to me, and I'll work a little bit of that into it, but I also want the community to know what I've done in my career and how that has helped me build the skills and the experience to be able to do this city manager position. So I'm going to start with my my initial role at the City of Bellevue, which was in the year 2000. I came to Bellevue as a government relations director and spent 12 years here at the city from 2000 to 2012. During that time, I was part of the city manager's office, which allowed me the opportunity to learn about all parts of the Bellevue city government, the organizational structure, how we provide our services, how the departments work, what our government relations connections were and partnerships were with the neighboring cities and King County. During that time, I spent much of my working focus on creating partnerships, service partnerships that might have been with King County or some of our east side cities that we needed to negotiate contracts with, develop interlocal agreements. That gave me the skills to kind of hone my ability to form teams, identify what processes we needed to get to common ground on issues, and then work towards solutions. And that was for the benefit largely of our community, because the service agreements provide direct service, whether we're providing the service as the City of Bellevue or someone is providing the service to us. I also spent a lot of time helping the council form policy positions during that time, working with the state legislature, working with our federal delegation on our state and federal agendas, and helping also to develop the strategies for those and to help carry them out. So that gave me a really good background in the City of Bellevue and also the community at large, including our neighboring cities. In 2012, I went to work for King County, where I worked as a regional relations manager. So that gave me more insight into how King County operates. And that's important because King County is a regional service provider. And so they are looking at all aspects of the county. Bellevue clearly is an integral and big component of the county, being the second largest city. And so I was able to be on that side of a table in some of the negotiating situations where I was representing the county, but from bringing with me a city perspective, which was very valuable to both parties, actually. And I also got to work with all of the cities in the county, and that was also very helpful to build my knowledge of how other cities are operating, how they're faring, what differences they have than the City of Bellevue. I then moved on to Metro, which is also a regional service provider. And what that allowed me to do was get much deeper into the capital program and project management. So I managed the capital division there. And one of the great opportunities that gave me was helping to establish a capital program that included project management tools, building accountability, helping to gain more ability to actually deliver on those projects. So that was really a great time for me to dive into the capital programming, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to continuing to bring to the City of Bellevue, those skills. And then I came back to Bellevue a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, as a deputy city manager, and I've been the acting city manager, as you pointed out, for about 9 months. What I was able to bring back was all of that work that over the years and the relationships that I built with the business community here, with our regional partners at King County, with our city partners on the east side and the south end and the north end. So bringing all of that back here and helping the council identify what their priorities are, helping the organization deliver on those council priorities, helping to support the council in their policy making and their decision making, and also continuing to have the organization deliver on the key components of our services that the residents and our businesses really rely on, and also the big initiatives. So a couple of those in the past year, pretty significant for the city, include our comprehensive plan update, which the council is working with right now. We've updated our affordable housing strategic targets and plan and targets. I've worked with the businesses on continuing to work on our permitting system and how to improve that. And then we've also updated our financial policies this year, which are helping to shape our new budget proposal that's coming to the council. I have history that's contributed to all of my skills before Bellevue, and I won't go into that part, but I've worked for many levels of government, and local government is my passion. A lot of that comes from working here at the City of Bellevue, and all of that contributes to my knowledge and ability to help get things done in and within and across governments. So that's a little bit of my background.
The next question is, how do you plan to engage with the community members to ensure their voices are heard in city planning and decision making?
Well, there's quite a few. First of all, I'm going to say that the questions that came in from the public were very good. And so this is going to be an interesting set today. And a lot of them have the theme of how do we make sure that we are getting good input from the community, how to do that, how important is it? And of course, it is extremely important to us from the city standpoint that we are creating opportunities for the community to give us input. And that's throughout all of our departments. It doesn't matter if it's a project or a program or a major comprehensive plan update. And of course, the levels of engagement depend on the size of the issue or the project or the program. But we use different methods, and we'll continue to evolve what types of methods and tools that we use. The goal, of course, is to be able to reach more people and as many of our community members as we can. And that requires different methods and tools. And as an organization, we have changed, and we're going to continue to work on how do we reach the community members that don't typically get access to our information, or they don't have time, or they need a different method to do it. Right? So taking what we do and continuing to expand it and build our network of people in the community, whether it's business or residents, and encourage them to be part of the process, because without the community's input, we don't put the types of policies and programs in place that the community is really wanting and needing. And so we need that input, and it's super valuable to us. Consistency across the departments in how we do engagement is something that we are working on. We have great engagement staff in many different departments, and we want to help them with tools that are consistent and relationships and connections that are consistent so that we can reach our community organizations more and better. And we also recognize that it's very important for this community in particular to include language access. So we have a lot of languages spoken in the city of Bellevue, and we don't want that to be an impediment to our community members being able to engage with us and to give us feedback. You're welcome.
Consistency is very important. Thank you. What innovative approaches would you bring to the city manager role to address the city's most pressing needs in key areas such as growth, affordability, and the sustainability?
Those are three big issues and opportunities for the city of Bellevue. I'll start, and I think they're all connected in ways, because we know that this is a growth city. The council established it as a city that desired to grow and that's a very positive thing. It keeps our city vibrant. But also, Bellevue has a history of growing with grace and planning to ensure that as we grow, we're thinking about our services, we're thinking about our infrastructure investments, we're thinking about how we continue to bring the community together as we grow and knit them together as we grow. So for how to continue to do that well, we know that the council is considering an upstep in our growth through our comprehensive planning amendment, the update. And just like we had 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago with the Bell Red Corridor, and we'll see that with Wilburton and the Bell Red Corridor again, and perhaps a little bit more throughout the community as well. With that comes some requirements that we focus in on. What do we need to do to make sure that we can maintain the quality of life that our residents are looking for, our business, that we maintain a good business environment at the same time that we're growing. So that one of the things that we're looking at is how to really better knit together our long-range planning efforts with our comprehensive plan. Right? So we have strategic plans across all the departments about what investments are needed. We can work those, put those together and create some priorities so that in terms of timing and of how and when we invest, whether it's in transportation, whether it's in our parks, our services, our facilities to support the growth, that we have a better sense of when those need to occur based on when we think the growth is happening and how we plan for the funding that's needed to actually put those in place. So the question was growth and affordability. So let me go to the affordability component, which is a housing supply and housing affordability. One of the top issues for our community, one of the top issues and priorities for our council is how we start to get our hands around the affordability issue. So housing supply links back to that comprehensive plan. We will create more capacity with the comprehensive plan for additional housing. We also will be continuing to work on achieving our affordable housing targets. And that comes from many different, I would say, components, right, that will help us with the affordability. From the city standpoint, we're looking at how can we utilize some of our city properties and build affordable housing on city properties, and that would be in conjunction with nonprofit developers or affordable housing developers. And then through the comprehensive plan and land use code, we're also looking at what's the right balance of contribution to the affordable housing solution from our development community. So, and we know we need a balance to do that, and it's going to take both supply of housing in general and a focus on how do we increase our affordable housing capacity as well. Sustainability, it comes through, it covers all of this, actually. So we have a climate goal to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% by 2030. We're going to stay on that goal. We're going to keep to that goal. We're going to keep working with our community in Bellevue, with our neighboring jurisdictions, with King County, with the state, with the federal government, with our energy partners, to keep working on how do we reduce our climate emissions, community climate emissions. And as a city government, we will be investing in practices, policies, different types of fleet, for example, that help us reduce our own government emissions and also will contribute to our community emissions being lowered. So I know we have another question on that, so I'll stop with that.
methods would you use to address and resolve conflicts or concerns that arise within diverse community groups? That's a good question.
It's a very good question. And I'm going to talk a little bit, maybe in general, right? Because, and I've said it before in the other forum, that diversity of opinions is fantastic, right? That's how we learn. That's how we adjust our proposals. We need to hear from a wide variety of the community and to get different perspectives on whether it's a project or a program or a policy. So having a diversity of opinions and conflicting opinions even is something that we should look forward to and invite, because it helps us get to better solutions, frankly. So valuing the different views, so coming at it from that standpoint is that we really do value when we get different and conflicting positions. It's important that people feel like they can get the information to be able to weigh in, and that that they feel like we are listening to them. We know that we can't make everybody happy, right? So ultimately, we're going to have to find either some common ground across the diverging opinions, see if we can adjust our proposals to get closer to a place where we have a little bit of middle ground. We'll use those diversity of opinions as well to see if there are mitigating, things that we can do to mitigate some of the issues or the concerns, or change the proposal a tiny bit. And then when it comes to actually moving forward on something where we have communities that is in different places on it, certainly going to look to our experts from the staff to weigh in on it and give us, their perspective on whether it's a safety issue or how it contributes to our long-term goals and objectives. And sometimes then you just need to find that place where you can move forward and hope that people feel like they have been listened to and that we've taken their views and their perspectives into consideration.
Thank you. Given your experience with the King County experience, and then given Bellevue's unique needs and vision, how do you plan to balance the city's autonomy while collaborating with King County, ensuring that Bellevue's priorities are not overshadowed by the county-wide goals and also initiatives?
Also an excellent question. So I'll draw back to my previous response, which is we as governments rely on each other for many different things. County has responsibilities that that they are providing services to our community, right? So having a relationship with the county is a good thing, right? We want to make sure that we are trying to work together as much as we can. Now, sometimes our goals differ, and where we're headed might be slightly different. So for the city of Bellevue, it's important for us to keep moving on the things that are important to us, right? That we can control. We have council members who are very active in the regional committees, and so they are providing the perspective of the city of Bellevue at many of those regional tables where regional policy is established by King County. And that's one way that we can help to shape that, right? So bringing the Bellevue perspective through our staff involvement, through our council involvement in those King County conversations. We also need to maintain that good relationship because oftentimes we will ask for assistance in things. We want their involvement, right? And similarly, they want our involvement in things. So I don't see it as an overshadowing as much as, hey, we need to partner. Sometimes we need to move forward with them. Sometimes the views do differ, and the council is going to take a position that might step back from the county position. I don't see them as being opposing or overshadowing, because we're always going to try to focus on how do we make sure we're moving the priorities of the city of Bellevue forward. And we have, again, very deep relationship and knowledge of working with them and how they work, and also how to make sure that we're sharing sometimes very strongly, the positions and interests of the city of Bellevue so that that can be part of the county decision-making when they are deciding whether or not to move forward on something. And how, if they are moving forward with something, whether it's an initiative or a ballot measure or funding agreement, like the crisis care facilities that they've done recently, that the city of Bellevue is, and the residents of Bellevue and the businesses are getting some of that benefit.
And the next question is a little bit different, but it's very important. How would you ensure the city is ready to respond effectively to a disaster?
Something that is on my mind a lot. Fortunately, we haven't had any, which is great. We have a pretty robust emergency preparedness structure in the city of Bellevue and division in the city of Bellevue that helps to coordinate all of our preparedness work. Of course, it starts with our first responders. Thank you. So our first responders are the first line, of course, for any emergency or disaster. And they're very well trained and practiced at responding. But then if it's truly a disaster that we need to scale it up, we have an emergency preparedness strategic plan that gives us all the steps and for how we need to form our emergency operations board and our emergency operations center, pull that together. We're part of the regional emergency cooperation agreement, so we will cooperate with neighboring jurisdictions. They will cooperate with us when that's needed. We have in that strategic plan for emergency operations a very clear delineation of the types of training that needs to occur with our staff, with our community, with our council. And that's a robust, ongoing process to continue to train and have tables where they're kind of creating potential mock events to see how we react. And then the last piece is our community engagement and our community awareness. Right? So a big component of the emergency preparedness strategic plan is how do we provide information to our community so that they know how to react in a disaster and what tools and skills and training is available to them before a disaster, but also what to do in a potential disaster.
The next one is, how do you balance in the influence of those with considerable economic power and those with very little economic power when making decisions for the city?
Mm-hmm. Well, balance is really important in that question. And that kind of goes back to how do we ensure and grow the reach of access to information, right? So I think it starts there. Is that as we're looking in our information tools, so how do we get things out to the community, we need to be very aware of how people are able to access the information. Giving people information is the first step to helping them provide good feedback and input to the council and to the city operations overall. So having equal access, good access to the information that's available is, I believe, step one for that. And we do that well. And we, as I said, it's always evolving, and we can always continue to improve on that. And including how are we reaching community members who have different language, speak a different language, don't come to City Hall, right? So we need to go to them, and we're doing more of that too. And then a data component, right, that will help us as well in this sense is to look at the demographics and ask demographics. So when we do surveys, we want to see and hear who's providing responses to us. And then we have to use that information, right? So we want to make sure that it's as broad as possible. And that demographic information can help us then shape, are we hearing from the right people? Are we hearing from everybody? Are we hearing from only one part of the community? So do we need to do take some additional steps to hear from other parts of the community so that we can provide a little bit more of that balance?
Considering the diversity of Bellevue, what are some of the most effective ways to keep the community updated regarding issues, concerns, and priorities that are presented by the community members and about what is going on at the City Hall?
I think we talk about this almost every day at the staff level, is how are we doing on getting information out? And anybody who has any kind of business also is probably thinks this, because it changes constantly. So we've added tools at the city. We have social media, blog posts. We used to be able to do everything by just simply putting out a media release or a media announcement. It just goes so much beyond that now. Our website is, of course, our primary tool. We try to keep the website the place where people can know they can always go for information, but there are so many different ways that the public now is looking for information. We have to keep evolving as well. So it's a challenge to determine how much is too much, but how much is enough too, right? So I would say we use all of those tools. We do provide much of our information, and we continue to strive to do more and better, but we provide much of our information in multiple languages. And how we relate to the community that's very diverse is something that we will need to keep focus on and keep getting better at. And as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the tools that's important is going to where the community is, right? So our community organizations, our nonprofit organizations, they are trusted by the members of the community that are part of their organizations. And the more that we can go to them and share our information and get feedback directly through them is going to benefit the city, because we'll hear from a more diverse set of our community. Yes, very good.
Yeah,
We are doing
Q&A is very important. So you're supposed to be doing this, because for 4 years
Mrs.
We do
Zimmerman,
not have.
one doing this.
so please sit down if you want to join us.
Yes, boss.
Thank you. We're actually doing really great on time. Would you like to answer 2 more questions?
I will try.
Okay, perfect. Okay. How can you help improve the overall mental and the physical health of the community?
I loved this question too. So I'm going to start with the physical part, because Bellevue is a city in a park. We have a lot of green spaces. We have a lot of natural areas. Green space is very important to both physical and mental health. So I would encourage, and I know that our community does use our parks extensively and values them extensively, but more use of our parks and trails, more access to them, more parks and trails, right? So we have a parks levy that we're continuing to build on our city in a park, and we will keep doing that. That's a great asset to our residents, employees in the area who come in, businesses, that you can use our parks for recreational and mental health. We have recreation programs for youth. We have more pickleball courts going in, high demand for pickleball. We have a pool, and there's an organization looking to expand our pool here in the city of Bellevue. So from a physical perspective, I think we have many opportunities that we can keep building on. The behavioral health side, we have our human services investments. So we are supporting behavioral health organizations that provide that service to our community. We'll be working with King County on the crisis care clinics that they are citing throughout the county to see how we can make sure that service is available to our community members as well. and continuing to partner with our nonprofit organizations, whether it's youth-focused or behavioral health, mental health, and recreation, right? So the city can help support that. The city provides a lot of those services as well. So if people are looking for those, we have great ideas through our parks department, and we'll keep doing that because mental health and behavioral health and physical health is such an important component of a community being strong.
That's really true. The next question, you touched it for a little bit. It talks about the Sustainable Bellevue Environmental Stewardship Plan includes the following goals. Reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emission by 50% by 2030 and 80% by 2050. How can Bellevue meet these goals in the face of budget constraints, development pressure, and corporate influence? Those are big numbers.
Yeah, they are. And been asked before, and there have been questions about should we maintain that goal, the 50% reduction by 2030. And I think absolutely we have to stick to that goal. We have 6 years left to try to get there. We have a staff team in the city of Bellevue that has been working very hard to collect information and to work with experts to understand where the community, the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from in our community. So we know what our 3 biggest areas are. It's energy, it's buildings, right? It's transportation. So energy source, buildings, and transportation. And we know also what activities and actions might help us reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. The challenging part of that is that it requires local actions, and we are a fairly small percentage of the actions that will actually reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. It requires state actions, it requires national actions. So part of our approach is to contribute the budget that we do have to resolving our own government greenhouse gas emissions and reducing those. But also having policy positions that support these actions at the state and the federal level, right? So continuing to work with state and federal partners and our energy providing partners as well to help move some of those bigger actions that can bring our climate, our greenhouse gas emissions down more. So I do think it's important that we maintain that goal and that target. I think it's important that we are investing in staff that can help us with policy development and plans and actions that we can contribute to at the local level. And budget's always going to be a challenge, but the local budget is a small component in that whole picture of how we, as a community, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We have to do it together.
Yes. I have one last question for you. Thank you, by the way. Is there anything else that you would like to add that you want to make sure the community knows about you, all your qualifications for this role?
Thank you again for agreeing to be the moderator for these. I'm going to say Bellevue is my home. We moved here in 2000 when I came to work here. We raised our kids here. I've coached basketball. My husband's coached Little League. We've become very much, obviously, part of this community. And we value the components, the attributes, the beauty of this city as others who live here do. And I know how important that is to the people that are here and the people that we are attracting to this city. I love the diverse, multicultural aspect of this community. It's changed over time, and it's changed for the better, and we are a welcoming city. And that is one of the things that I find contributes to my desire to want to continue to be here and to help shape this city for the next 20 years. It's a vibrant city. We have an amazing business community and a growing business community. And we can just continue to make it better by putting in plans and having great goals and vision that the council has provided to us. So I am excited. I'm really passionate about working with the council to achieve their vision for this city and to keep doing it for years so that we do have that graceful growth out into the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the audience for being here today. Now is the excitement part. Please help yourself to snacks and beverages just outside in concourse, where you can mingle with your neighbors and meet Acting City Manager Carlson. Thank you so much. Thank you.